Can I borrow your phone? Put your phone on camera.
Phone.
You don't have it either? I know. All right. Probably only 30 seconds anyway. All right. Who are our pickups? We got Bo Scarborough, Jonathan Williams, and Jacob Hollister.
Yep.
All right, cool. Jordan Wilkins is hurt. We're sure about this. Woo! We're here.
I like that intro so much better than whatever crap I had prepared. I was gonna be like, Week 11, can you believe it? There's so many surprising players to talk about. And instead, you delivered us an energetic one, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Matt. I'm here for you. Let's uplift. Let's do this. All right. What do you want to talk about? Hey, I know what we can talk about. What?
Yeah. Right. What do you want to talk about?
We're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts backfield.
Yes, we are going to talk about Colts backfield. I have the box score to pull up here. Ravi, please, if you would, pull this up because this is hyper important information that we talk about this Colts backfield. Look, Marlon Mack had 14 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown, but he's gone. He fractured his hand. He's probably going to be missing some games.
This is not like necessarily the motion you want to do.
I went with two hands. You missed my other hand. I went,
okay.
Not neck.
What happened? What happened when he left the game, Matt? Was there another grinder, perhaps, that stepped up in his stead and also was a compliment to a passing down back who has been playing pretty good given his limited role in this offense throughout the season?
Brett, I believe it was, in the green room said Williams scored a touchdown for the Colts. And I said, who the hell is Williams?
It was Chewy.
Jason, Brett, same thing. They both, one of them said that Williams had scored. Sure enough, I was like, who the hell is Williams? Jonathan Williams is back in our lives, everybody. Jonathan Williams has been a fantasy sleeper for like 100 years.
Perennial sleeper.
Perennial sleeper.
Cowboys.
There was the moment where with the Bills, that was the thing, when he was like, oh, he's like the clear RB2 to Shady. They're a run-heavy team.
Yeah.
He's good. He gets cut. He has a good preseason, then gets cut. Let's remember that. Then he goes to the Saints, goes to the Broncos. Everyone likes him.
Not the Cowboys, the Broncos. That's it.
And eventually he ends up here with the Colts. Has 13 carries, 116 yards, 8.9 yards per carry, long run of 48 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like he's going to be in a pretty good spot against Washington next week.
Why are we seeing Jonathan Williams instead of Jordan Wilkins?
Because Jordan Wilkins is hurt. He has an ankle injury.
But is he on IR?
No.
No, he is not. Could he? He did miss week 10. He missed week 11, as we know. Could he potentially come in week 12 against this Washington team?
I suppose the potential is there.
Did we learn anything from Ty Johnson?
We learned that hope is poison.
We learned if you still got fab friends, you best spend it because it's about to be week 12.
Yeah, so in the end, I would say I don't know that Jonathan Williams is about to win your fantasy league because not only is there potential to be...
No, you're not. What a hot take.
Yeah.
Way to put yourself out on a limb there.
I would say that he's probably not going to necessarily become a clear RB1 even if he does take over the lead rushing duty because you're right, he could also be splitting early down work with Jordan Wilkins, and Nyheim Hines is also a figure in this game. I mean, you don't necessarily think that he's going to be out there catching a bunch of passes against Washington because of the game script, but he does carry the ball 3 times for 11 yards and scores a touchdown in this game, and also, of course, contributes in the passing game. Just 4 targets, 3 catches, 24 yards.
So my thoughts on this backfield, right? We know we have a staunch offensive line. We saw Quentin Nelson just be a dude all around from handoff to celebration. So you would imagine that a grinder would make sense, be able to succeed, as we've seen with Marlon Mack do, behind that really tough offensive line. However, without T.Y. Hilton in the lineup, we know that T.Y. obviously works inside and outside, but Brissett he likes some underneath stuff, and that's obviously what Hines can do. And if there is no T.Y. Hilton, then you have to imagine there's an increased role for Hines in the passing game in the short yardage stuff. So in PPR-friendly leagues, which of these running backs, Matt, are you leaning towards?
I'm still going to lean towards Williams.
Because of the touchdown upside?
Because of the touchdown upside and the fact that it's a good matchup for an early down running back against Washington.
Well, but what about beyond Week 12?
I don't even know if we can look beyond Week 12, at this point.
Because it is a head-to-head game. It is a week-to-week effort.
It's a week-to-week game, head-to-head scoring, all that type of stuff. And in the end, I don't really think that we know if Marlon Mack is going to be – how long is he going to be out? Is Wilkins going to
Well, according to you, he's – so
only this, not this. You're going too far up. That's a little aggressive, Liz. Please.
You got big hands. I don't know what to say.
I hear you. Now, let's talk about this because I think we should address the fact that people in the chat room, we are listening to you. We're reading your comments. Danny from Facebook says, "Who the hell are you?" Liz Loza, who the hell are you?
Liz Loza? Matt Harmon, who the hell are you?
I'm Matt Harmon.
Now you know.
Now you know. All right, but seriously. Deshaun Watson putting up 4 points. Daniel from Facebook wants to know what the hell happened there.
With Deshaun Watson?
What the hell happened with Deshaun Watson?
Well,
no, they did spell their name wrong. It's not Deshaun with the W.
Don't correct them. It's fine.
It's not that fine.
If you're going to correct them about something, it is that they didn't watch FFL, I'm guessing, because we went through this potentially happening when you look at, and by the way, the first halftime show, we also covered it, because the secondary in Houston is bad, and the secondary in Baltimore, not bad.
I love it.
Pretty much sums it up. And also, there's no Will Fuller. It really does. I think
it's a game-changing presence.
There is no big play threat. Kenny Stills has his big moments. He is the equivalent now without Will Fuller, but he's still like a bigger slot guy. He's not going to have the same ceiling that Will Fuller has. And especially when you have Nuke Hopkins doing all of this underneath stuff, then that further limits the ceiling of the offense in terms of the passing game.
I would agree. Yeah, it's the truth. It's the reality.
It's
of
the
the
hashtag
situation.
truth.
It's the hashtag truth. Also, Lamar Jackson's the truth. Now,
I have
Patrick,
a question. Wait. Go off. I just whatever. We're gonna do this thing. I understand that MVP race conversations this far into the season are a little ridiculous because it is before Thanksgiving. But Matt, I'm going to ask you to play along. This is not fantasy related. Maybe in the chat if you have opinions. I'd love to hear your opinions on this because everybody's talking about who is the front runner in this race, Russell Wilson, Christian McCaffrey, or Lamar Jackson.
Well, Dan Boschman from Facebook in the chat room says, let's talk about Russell Wilson as the MVP. And I don't think it's ridiculous. I know, okay, look, it's just, there's no mythical horse race every week, someone's coming ahead. You're right. After Thanksgiving, when the big games come, that's when the signature moment.
Playoff-making game.
Which I think is the key to an MVP race. I think you have to have signature moments. I wrote a piece about this. 47th time I'm going to reference it. I wrote a piece about it. You brought it up, Liz. You brought it up. You had to know I would say.
I didn't know you wrote a piece. How did I not know you wrote a piece? Because you talk about your damn pieces all the damn time. Anyway, you wrote a piece?
Wrote a piece about the MVP race and why I think Russell Wilson is the leader in that right now. And the reason that we're looking at some other players not quite up to Wilson's par, like Lamar Jackson is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. I think he's starting to make that case because he has a lot of signature moments now. I think the fact that he beat up on a Patriots team in prime time, had one of his best passing performances in that game. Obviously, he puts a ton of signature plays against the Bengals, but those are highlight reels that they're going to play again and again and again. And then this week, I think he makes another step forward by thoroughly taking out Deshaun Watson and the Texans.
The current race.
I think now he's out of the race. Really, frankly, I think the conversation is Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. Then I kind of think you're wasting your time.
I don't disagree. I was throwing a CMC in there because you had initially thrown him into the conversation when we discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to make sure your Panthers, regardless, I never know where you're at with them.
Well, I mean, they kicked a field goal to avoid getting blown out, shutout, excuse me. So he's not in the MVP race.
Hold on, I have another question, a follow-up question, because I don't disagree with you. I would put Russell Wilson on cover 3. I said that Russell Wilson was my MVP as well. Is it because if Hollywood Brown were able to stay healthy, and the connection between Jackson and Brown had more opportunity and time to flourish, do you think that Jackson would move ahead? Because when I think about Russell Wilson and his connection with Tyler Lockett and the limited amount of volume that is going Lockett's way in comparison to the efficiency under which these two are working, that is a prime example of why I have to place Wilson ahead of Jackson.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that could have made a difference. Like, there was a 2.5-game stretch where Hollywood Brown was completely out of the equation, and it's no coincidence those were his worst passing games of the season, because I think Brown is that kind of difference maker. Now, I also would say look out for Dak Prescott in this race, because I think Dak is the best. I think he's by far the best player on the Cowboys offense. Zeke is not. He looks good, but not great this year. He's no longer the engine of this offense. And I would say this.
Amari Cooper drags Dak Prescott
that's
into production.
Outrageous.
Amari Cooper drags quarterbacks into production on the regular.
You never dragged Derek Carr to that much production. Derek Carr's having his best year without Amari Cooper. Look, Amari Cooper's great this year, but just, let's be for real. Like, I think the fact that he has taken his game to the next level this year, but I think he and Dak have done that in concert with each other. Like, Dak is also having Michael Gallup have a good year. Randall Cobb has scored in back-to-back games. Jason Witten, he's doing stuff every now and again. Dak is the tide that raises all boats in this offense this year. Now, Dak's problem, though, is that he doesn't have signature moments.
No.
But we're talking about post-Thanksgiving. We're talking about later in the season. The Cowboys have a primetime game against the Patriots in Foxborough. They have another game, 4:25, against the Eagles in Philly in Week 16 that could decide the
second
NFC
matchup
East.
between these two.
Yes. Now, if that turns out he wins both of those games on the road against tough teams, one in the division, now we're talking about Dak as a potential MVP candidate, because he has all the, like, statistics-wise, he has everything that you'd want, but he doesn't have those signature moments.
I'm not sure he's going to have the record. I mean, I guess that's the point
true.
You're making.
Yeah, exactly. I think the team overall just doesn't have the success. I would say Justin Stinson on Facebook says Aaron Jones should get MVP love. 2 games with 3 touchdowns. No.
Well, you're barking up the wrong tree here, because we're talking to the vice president, the co-chair, if you will, of the running back talent doesn't matter committee.
Oh no, I'm not. I am so far out of the running back value conversation.
Maybe you're like the
Twitter.
Treasurer.
No, maybe like junior undersecretary.
You're on the board. He's on the
board. In 2018, but this year I've gotten out of that conversation because it's the worst conversation to have on Twitter. Although we've got some
lies detected.
We are slowly but surely getting more climbing up that ladder. Liz.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the 49ers Cardinals game.
Let's do it.
It's going on right now. They're back in the third quarter, but a few people chirped in on Raheem Mostert not doing anything. He has 5 for 12. The Cardinals jumped out to an early lead, 9-0. I think overall, that's not exactly the run game script that the 49ers are going to look for. And we were just having this conversation before we were jumping on the air. Where does Jimmy G kind of rank within quarterbacks? Well, we're about to see that sort of performance here where he's going to have to prove something there, even if it's against a bad defense.
Yeah, but I think the comp to Kyler Murray is interesting because this is a young quarterback who's been playing lights out. You've talked him up. I mean, I know you think I don't like him. I don't dislike him. I just thought he had a really tough month of the schedule and for fantasy purposes might be a slow starter, which has been true, by the way. But I think that Jimmy G is under some pressure here because he's sharing a screen with a rookie who is game-changing.
Kyler Murray is game-changing. He has been the most fun player to watch in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. I'm going to include this one because even against this 49ers defense, he's made some unbelievable throws to get that early 9-0 lead. I mean, we're talking about the mythical arm strength rankings. Kyler Murray is climbing. He's climbing up there. He's got one of the best arms in the NFL. I saw someone make the comparison. He's fun-sized Cam Newton.
Okay.
I kind of like that comp because Murray he's a runner, not the same type of runner that Cam is, but some of the arm angles that he throws from and that fast release when he's on, it looks like.
I prefer the dachshund of the desert, which is something Brad Evans used to describe him. I think that's pretty accurate.
There you go. Dan says that Jimmy G is not the franchise quarterback for them. We'll see. I think he's good enough to run this system. But, Liz.
Yeah.
Can we talk about 2 other guys?
Sure. I'm looking at the chat here. What else? Keep talking.
All right, I'll keep talking. Since we're talking about Jonathan Williams and Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines. I think it's worth mentioning Gus Edwards and Tony Pollard.
Oh, you're going to go here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go here because I think these two guys are crucial this week because we talk about picking up stash running backs a lot. Well, you're going to have to grab these guys this week because they went out and showed it, right? Like we're sitting here chasing the Colts backfield because a starter just got injured. No one was really picking up Jonathan Williams before this, but people are going to be running out to pick him up this week because he performed and now the starter's hurt. Well, this week, obviously these starters are not hurt. Zeke is still out there, and so is Mark Ingram. However, they are both these two guys. I think are the 1 and 2. We talked about handcuff running back rankings on last week's podcast.
Right.
I think Pollard and Edwards are 1 and 2 right now. Maybe Alexander Madison is up there with them.
I think on the pod we had Madison.
Number
Pollard
one.
number 2.
Yep, and we had said if Pollard's healthy, he's that clear number 2, and he looked great
today. And I think the thing that is talked not broadly enough about Pollard is his dual skill set, right? Mm-hmm. He's great in the passing game. That was how he scored. So he's not just listen, apparently you said on Twitter there's a lot of like he's better than Zeke takes. I'm not here for that. I'm not good. No. But I do think it's interesting that he's a full comp, right? This isn't, you don't need to have a platoon because he can do enough of the things.
I agree. Yeah, no, he could be that. He could slide right in with that 3 down
like Madison
sort of workload. And Joel Garcia just brought this up in the chat. What do we do with Brian Hill? Because now we're looking, and also says same that I did with Ty Johnson, which is just kiss him goodbye. I don't know. I think it would have been great to see Brian Hill like kind of totally assume that workload because this was the matchup to do it. Next week, not so much against the Buccaneers, who we know have a good run defense. Although Alvin Kamara kind of got rolling on them today.
Wow, Brian Hill is no Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you keep Brian Hill around for one more week just to see if he does have that big game. Because I still think there's a chance that if he goes out and performs well, then they just, they just say goodbye to Devonta Freeman and make him like a secondary piece in the backfield. But those odds got much slimmer. It was smart to take the risk and pick him up, but those odds just got a lot slimmer now that he didn't have this big game.
Process was also there. I mean, he touched the ball 16 times.
Right.
That's pretty solid for a dude you picked up off of the waiver wire. And I know he didn't get the goal line look, and it was Quadre Olison that got that. But I think sometimes you just have to like look at the luck of things and look at the and remember the process. And I think he didn't smash, but he didn't fall on his face. This isn't a Ty Johnson situation.
Right. It was much better than a Ty Johnson situation. And like it's also worth noting too, I say this all the time, you have to remember this when you're looking at like why did this player on this offense not necessarily perform, even if they got like a good target share or rushing share. The Carolina Panthers kept turning the ball over, giving the Falcons shorter fields, which is going to just lead to shorter possessions. You're not going to get as high of a touch count, but it looks like percentage-wise, Brian Hill was still the guy in this backfield. And like I said on our first halftime show, it appeared that the Carolina Panthers decided to fix all their running game issues while neglecting everything else.
The Packers have been like that all season too.
Yeah, they're starting to try to fix their run defense, and everything else is falling apart.
Yeah.
What a tough scene. Just before we get out of here, I want to go pull up this tweet that I sent out with some of the surprising performers of the day. Liz, we got this response here from Tone Dad. What do you?
Peanut butter dwelling.
Well, good. That's a good segue because I'm pulling up this tweet of Ross Dwelly. Liz, this was one of your calls this week that he was going to be.
Traquan Smith did not work out. My apologies.
Let's focus on the positive.
Yeah, but Ross Dwelly. Also, you could see it at the end of last Monday's game, right? Like the connection between Jimmy G as the game wore on. The connection between these two players definitely got better and better, right? So
yeah. Also,
I agree it's peanut butter Dwelly time.
And he's missing George Kittle. Jimmy Garoppolo was. Yeah. He's missing Emmanuel Sanders on that drive. Like when it came time to look for somebody, that was where he started to look.
Peanut butter Dwelly with a baseball bat.
I love that call. I think that if George Kittle misses next week, we could be looking at more Dwelly time there. I also like this gif, Michael Gallup.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Galloping away.
Over 100 yards.
Gallup, I think, is a guy that you probably want to break ties of in favor every week.
Every week.
He has a big ceiling. His quarterback, at least I believe, is playing at an MVP type level. And he gets those downfield looks. And last one, I thought this one was really good too. This wasn't a big surprise to me, but Smokey Brown here. 2 touchdowns. The fun thing about John Brown was that he had maintained a really good floor, but this was the first time we saw his ceiling, which was nice to see. Because like Josh Allen, for all the arm strength that he had, had not been playing any good in the deep ball game. I mean, good Lord, that was rough.
Right. Well, I also, Kimberly Martin did an interview with him, and he chucked the ball like past the stands. He tried to get it out of the stadium, and when she interviewed him, she was like, "Oh, what was that like?" He was like, "Well, I mean, I was planning to get it all the way out of the stadium, but then like in the moment I just got flustered and just threw it as far as I could." I was like, that is such a window to Josh Allen's mind while playing as a professional quarterback.
Yeah.
Like he just like admitted the thing that you have sort of been intimating all season.
Yeah, that is how Josh Allen plays the game. Last thing, we'll take this question, but actually you'll just take this question. I'm going to sit it out. Diego Carbone from Twitter asked, "Hi guys, Matt Prater or Nick Folk for Week 16 and Week 15?"
Oh, you got to go with Matt Prater.
Okay.
Bigger earrings, man.
There you go. Bigger earrings.
Studs, legs, there's a connection.
So that is going to do it for our Week 11 halftime number 2. Now, Liz.
Halftime number 2.
Halftime number 2. Speaking of number 2, you're going to a great game tonight with Mitch Trubisky and Jared Goff. Let's get a winner and a score prediction from you, please.
The Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to say 13-7.
Who's scoring that one touchdown for the Bears?
Taylor Gabriel.
Oh, I would have said somebody on their defense after like a strip fumble or something. Oh, Javon Wims.
No, I think it's going to be Taylor Gabriel. And I think Jared Goff. I think Todd Gurley scores. And then I think there's 2 field goals.
You heard it here first, folks.
Is that how much is that? That's not 13.
Whatever.
That is 13. That is 13. Yeah, I did it right.
You got it. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Be sure to check out the Yahoo Fantasy Football Podcast. I'll be driving the bus this week, and then Liz will be back on Friday of next week.
Yep.
It will be beautiful. Thank you all for tuning in, and good luck with the rest of your little fake football teams.